Shalom, giving no praise unto Yahweh Mashiach, the honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone, and I honor you brothers to be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And above everybody are coming out here to give you this truth for the grace and mercy of Yahweh Mashiach, giving no praise unto Yahweh Mashiach. It's going to be a relatively quick video in transit style, and the purpose of this video is to go into a little bit of a topic that came up while the apostles were teaching. And I thought I'll just use that as the inspiration of a video because it's a pretty poignant topic, okay? And that's the mindset that we see across the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans that are so for the 2/3 that have this affinity for mercy towards Esau. Like it's like this guy is worthy of mercy, man. That's like a plague that plagues our people, a real mental degeneracy that we see amongst the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. So let me just speak about it for a couple minutes or so whilst I drive back home from the gym and training and all of that. And let me just speak about it for just a hot second. So where to start? Well, slavery, the plantation, okay? A lot of you Israelites that's within the world that might come across this video, you really need to bring yourselves back into remembrance of what's happened to you, what your history is. And it's a very unpleasant history. I know America right now and many other parts of the world are really into this thing of burying the history of what's happened and how America got into the position that it's in, okay? When you've got a free labor force, you're able to build, and you're able to build great. After they had that free labor force, they was able to use greenbacks, and then ultimately they had the petrodollar. But ultimately the foundation of America was the free labor force that was the Negroes, predominantly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and then also to the Hispanics, Native Americans. But we understand predominantly it was Judah, okay, that got that peak punishment. But really, when you understand the process of reincarnation, you come to the understanding that we all went through it. So we watch these movies, okay, the Django, 12 Years a Slave and all of that, and you see some aspect of it, but really what you got to understand is that really it was heinous, okay? It was real heinous what happened to us. And I'm just going to list off some examples that come to mind off the top of my head right now, and see if we can evoke some emotion, the correct emotion that you're supposed to have towards that. Or the counter argument is, if you're so infatuated with loving Esau, do you think Esau loves you? Okay, that's the countermeasure. And we see there was a process of punishing the slaves that was caught reading, especially reading the Bible, slaves that was disobedience, okay, slaves that were unproductive, slaves that didn't meet their quota. Some punishments are not limited to, but including, you had a thing where they used to heat up sugar, and sugar turns into a syrup at a particular temperature when you add it with water. I believe you have to add water, but it turns into a liquid, and that's a very hot liquid that they used to pour on Jake, and that was part of the punishment. Another punishment that comes to mind with the pregnant women, they used to cut out the baby out of the stomach of the woman. I remember that's something that used to happen within the history. They had something called alligator babies, where in the pursuit for alligator leather rather more, they used to use the babies, the Negro babies, as bait for the alligators. Now, you know the alligator, it's got one of the most powerful bites within the animal kingdom. That thing when it clamps down, right? And they used to use the babies, the Negro babies, as bait for them. Now the lynching, the anecdote I want to speak about the lynching is the souvenirs that they used to take back, okay? We all know about the lynching. We all know how terrible it was, okay? We all know how terrible it was. But one anecdote I want to speak about with respect to the lynching is, you really think these Edomites like you, love you? You really think they're worthy of not being hated? These average day Edomites, when there was a public lynching, what they used to do is they used to cut off members of that Israelite that was lynched. Just put it in glass jars and put it by the windowsill. Now, you wouldn't even do that to a dog. You wouldn't even do that to a dog. You wouldn't go out there and hang a dog on a tree. I mean, if I saw that, I would probably cry. That's a dog. Get a little, staff terrier, hang it off a hang it off of a rope on a tree, then cut off the paws and put paws in a jar. Like that's sadistic, man. That's really kind of vile. Like, what kind of a person would think that's a trinket to have? But this is what we see that these Edomites used to do, and maybe that's gonna be the caption for the video. Maybe that's gonna be the avatar that I'm gonna use for the video. Okay, the caption, sorry, it's like it. So that's the emotion that was pushed towards you, and rightfully so. We was disobedient against the Most High. We went off from following His law, statute, commandments, and therefore He punished us. He punished us greatly. Punished us greatly, grievously. But the scripture talks about how the person, the perpetrator of us receiving that particular punishment, he too was going to receive a punishment. The scripture goes something to this effect within the book of Lamentations, the 4th chapter. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Moreover than that, we see this particular nation that was raised up to be our punishment. The Most High had already prescribed within the scripture that Esau was hated. The book of Malachi, the 1st chapter, on the 4th verse says, Esau have I hated, but Jacob have I loved. So that's already the prerequisite, and that really is not a thing of that really is a thing of the Most High created a creature to be hated. But more so than that, you got to think about it in another particular type of a way. The Most High hated this creature, but we went off so much, we were so disobedient that the Most High raised up His most hated creature and used that against us. So that's one aspect. That's another way to think about it. But really, just because the Most High has raised him up doesn't mean to say the Most High loves him. The Edomites are not to be loved; they're to be hated. Our forefather King David said, "Do I not hate them, O Lord, that hate thee?" And that's the mindset that we ought to have. Notwithstanding, we're going to move and we're going to maneuver with balance of mind. We're going to look at the situation and say, look, we don't need to go through this situation in a means of being antagonistic. We're going to wait upon Yahweh Shai. In other words, we're going to wait upon Yahweh Shai. We don't need to be out here like tyrants. You go to the job and you're smacking Edomites in the face. No. You get kicked out of the camp for that. Okay, you will get kicked out of the camp for that. The rather, you're supposed to be out here really being a steward of Yahweh Shai and waiting upon Yahweh Shai, and He's going to be the one that's going to implement the judgment. So we see here they cast a lot for a boy. Joel 3:3, they cast a lot for a boy, right? That they might have drink. That's what he was being traded for in terms of slavery. And you think the Most High has forgotten that these things happen unto you? Moreover than that, you think that the Most High changed his hatred towards Esau. Quite the contrary. The Most High said that He hates him with the scripture says we ought to hate him with a perfect hatred. The Most High said within the scriptures, I hated Esau, and I've laid his mountains as an heritage ways for the dragons of the wilderness. In other words, when Babylon, which is the daughter of Babylon, Psalms 137:7, it says the daughter of Babylon is Edom. The principal city of Edom is America. We know Babylon, which is America, is to be wiped off the face of the earth. Another scripture that comes to mind is the book of Revelations 11:8, where scripture talks about how that it's the new Egypt and the new Sodom. We all know why that is. The enslavement of the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and these weird philosophies that they push out there to the world, where Stephen could become Stefan, right? Or Stephanie, rather more. So that particular place, just in this fabric, societal architecture, is ought to be destroyed. But even more so than that, before Esau came into a position of power, he was already fated to be destroyed. So I don't understand I understand it, but really, you Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, you need to have a ruling class mentality, man. This love everybody spirit is not on. The Most High ain't with it. Okay, the Most High ain't with it. If you wanna love Esau so much, you know what's gonna happen to you? You're gonna walk hand in hand, okay, supporting the Edomites, which, hey man, you might have an Edomite that's gonna give you a so-called good job, or you might have an Edomite that's gonna give you a pay rise. You might have an Edomite that's gonna give you a lift home. That don't change what's happened within the past, and certainly doesn't change their fate. It's just a lift. Okay, it's just a lift. And if the situation permitted it, you would have a situation. If the situation permitted these Edomites to put us in slavery, you better believe that same Edomite that was giving you a lift is going to be the first one on a lynching line, okay, ready to give you the Wapo Zappo. So it's just a few thoughts on that particular topic. Yeah, man, Jake's got a weird relationship with hating Esau. They got a real weird relationship with hating Esau, and we're supposed to be upon the face of the planet. I see it all the time. You speak to the Hungarians, they hate Esau. They hate the mainland Esau, Edomite. hate the mainland Edomite, hate him with a perpetual hatred. You speak to Elam, Ishmael, all of these different nations, they hate Esau. And they might smile and, you know, play the game or whatever, but the vast majority of them, they really hate Esau because they remember what happened to their people. They really remember what happened to Pakistan and India, right? The Arabs really they've seen what Esau and how he moves when he moved into Iraq and all of that. They know these particular things. They know the nature of the fork-tongued devil. Says one thing and does another. They know these particular things, but the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans that have got such a history of oppression, okay, of being oppressed by Esau, you're the first ones in line to love Esau, man. Okay, Master done messed your mind up. Okay, he done messed your mind up to the point where you're just irrevocable. Okay, you can't be brought back from that situation that you're in, man. You're done. You're through. Like brothers say, man, you're through, man. You're done. You Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans love Esau. So, like you see in Altered Carbon, it's a great TV program. I love that concept. They could have went hard with that concept, man. That concept should never died out. They should have carried on making more Altered Carbons, man. That was a great concept, and put different spins to it. You could have had a samurai that was an Altered Carbon. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is this: you're gonna get put down and spun back up within the kingdom. In other words, you're gonna be reincarnated into the kingdom, and that's just fine. You're still gonna receive your blessing. You're still gonna receive that which was promised unto our forefathers. Just gonna have to get the apples on this side, and that's just fine. That's just fine. Okay. As for us, we hope to be the elect. We hope to make it on the first go around. Yeah, it's a greater weight of glory, but we still need children. That's gonna be you getting spun back up. And you think you're not gonna be loved in the kingdom? You're gonna be loved in the kingdom, man. You're gonna remember some of them acts you did. You could be embarrassed, but at the end of the day, in the kingdom, you're gonna be all right. In any event, with that, I'm gonna say all praise unto Yabashim Ashai, Bashim Korakodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone and the honest brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.